G'day, Wind Against Tiders, and welcome to episode 125, our final podcast for the year, I would say. Joined with me is great mate, normally the co-host of Wind Against Tide, but he's been missing a few times lately. But it's great to have you back in studio, Joseph. First of all, where have you been? What have you been doing? Everyone keeps asking me what's happened to Joseph.
Dave, I've been, first of all, it's fantastic to be back. I missed my Wind Against Tiders. I have been around, but our planets just have not been aligning. I've been free, you haven't been free, but I've still been there. Very, very much missing fishing. I've only managed to sneak out, a couple of times in the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks, but the good news is it's Christmas time. That's when we get a little bit of a break, or most people do. And the fishing this year in particular has actually been, it's still quite good at the moment, Dave.
Oh, mate, I think everyone is quite unanimously calling it the best snapper fishing, or close to the best snapper fishing we've seen in living memory across all our bays and estuaries, and it's still going absolutely bonkers out there on Port Phillip, Western Port, and down Port Welshpool, extending even down to Lakes Entrance, Joe. So it's been exceptional. It's exciting to think what's to come, because all the cool summer species start to mix in now, and it's options galore, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. But you've been actually fishing locally in Western Port over the last couple of weeks. Do you feel that the snapper are about to slow down at all, or what's your gut feeling at the moment on the Western Port snapper?
Well, as we pod, they're still going extremely well. But look, last year we found it tapered off by now. But as you may well remember, Joe, there was a couple of years ago where we fished for snapper through till after Christmas, and they were still going pretty strong. So
we had an unbelievable session on Boxing Day night, I remember, which was actually beautiful.
We used the prawn heads as belly, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Our leftover Christmas prawns. I kept them, and I said, we'll get some burley going on as well. So that was fun.
But yeah, no, I reckon you'll find that they'll probably keep going well, and then it will drop off a cliff a little bit, because the water's going to reach a point where it's just not going to be comfortable for them to be feeding hard. And then obviously you'll get that second run of snapper come through when the temps drop off again. So there's that to look forward to still, Joe. But in the meantime, plenty of other stuff to chase.
Yeah, there is. I mean, the whiting's been fantastic.
Yeah, I think since you've been on the show, you went whiting fishing, didn't you? You've absolutely smashed them.
Yeah, it was. We were up the top end of Western Port, and it was actually on an incoming tide, and we had the moon rising, and this was about 7 o'clock at night, and they just went absolutely cocoa bananas. The whiting, they were just they were everywhere. So that was awesome. I finally got a chance to use the whiting washing machine, as you call it. I got the first chance to actually use it. It was a nifty little device. We're not sponsored by any whiting washing machine companies, but this particular bag was I was pretty impressed with it. It had it was quite heavy duty, and it had a float on it, so just in case your rope does break, you got half a chance of salvaging it. And it was very impressive.
It does sound good. I actually saw a photo the other day. I think I spoke about this on another podcast. One of the biggest whiting stacks I've ever seen, Joe. And I was talking about the physics of that with someone, and we came to the conclusion that the only way that it can work is if you do the descaling thing in the whiting bag, and then they're not so slimy and they're a bit more grippy, and you can really get them 6, 7 high. Without them falling off the bait board, which seems to be the main goal.
Oh, and also the other very clever thing about the whiting descaling bag is, well, look, it does make sense. You don't have to make as many cuts. I mean, some people do prefer skin off their whiting, but look, if you don't have to deskin them, well, you can process your whiting a lot quicker. I mean, once those scales are off, that skin. Yeah, it crisps up. It doesn't really even taste like anything.
No.
It's
Fish
very
skin,
edible.
Fish skin in general, once it's crisped, is absolutely sensational, Joey. We had crispy skin snapper here at work just last week, and it's just it's it's sensational.
Does a snapper skin crisp up that much? I wouldn't think there'd be so much.
No, it does.
It crisps up because it's got fat on it.
Yeah.
But some fish don't have much fat on their skin.
No, I think the trick to getting a nice crispy skin on any fish is to make sure it's nice and dry, the skin, and a bit of a salting, and then over on a hot heat, and that crunchiness. And I believe all the vitamins and good stuff is like just under the skin, so it's actually better for you to eat fish with skin on.
I know, and it's approaching lunchtime for Dave, so he's getting hungry. I can hear him just going.
My stomach is gurgling. We shouldn't talk about food too much, Joey. Now, for everyone who is going to go out whiting fishing in the next couple of weeks, what's your tips from your one recon mission?
Well, you definitely want to be targeting the tides that have got a lot of movement in it.
Yep.
I can only speak for Western Port because that's where I fish. That you want some tide with a lot of movement in it, so you want to be looking for those, more than 2 meters variation in the tide. The more, the better. Also, another thing that comes up to my mind is, when you're anchoring for whiting, the boat kind of needs to be sitting on that drop off. I mean, in Western Port, you can make a whiting spot out of any bank that sort of any bank that goes from like a sandy bank into a little gutter into sort of that 3 to 5 meter range. But you really have to set your boat, in that drop off, because if you can just imagine the whiting, they're sitting at the bottom of those sand banks, and as the tides are flushing all the food off them, they're opportunistic feeders, and they're just sitting at the bottom there waiting to pick up the food. So, but if your boat's kind of like getting blown away at anchor and you're sort of being blown into the deep and not, don't have your pippy and your squid baits casting at the bottom of that bank, I think that can be really the difference from not getting any whiting to getting a lot of them. And you just have to move regularly along these banks until you locate the school.
Now, did you burley? Because I know that Fabian, who you're with, does not believe in burleying for whiting. So it's an interesting, there is an argument out there, pros and cons of burleying for whiting.
No, we absolutely did not burley with whiting. Fabian says it attracts the unwanted species. All we do is just we throw the shells over. Sometimes when we can be bothered, we can you just smash the pippy shells. And just throwing the pippy shells over, it's they sink straight to the bottom in that shallow water, and it creates a bit of scent.
Yeah, just a little bit of scent, but not enough to draw all the rubbish in. I quite like that theory because it means less work for me, Joe. Organising burleys is another element of annoyance.
I'll give you another parallel though. For snapper, for example, it's my dear Uncle Tony. He burleys like a madman. He's got like 2 pots going, and he's got the secret weapon and whatnot. And quite often he does really well with burling for snapper.
Yeah, it's certainly an effective method. And maybe a little bit underutilized, but yeah, old Uncle Tony loves his secret weapon and his burleying, Joey.
Yeah, makes sense when the breeding snapper are coming in and they're just feeding up and they're going crazy. Like if there's a huge school coming past, they seem to come through in waves. Definitely will hold the school under your boat. Doing that. But yeah, back to the whiting. It's look, you can get them burling, but I think it's more boat position along those banks and just sort of peppering along the banks.
Moving along and intercepting.
Yep.
Exciting. It's that time of year. A lot of people are switching over to that. We did mention the snapper fishing is probably as good as it has been all season, which is quite a big call because it started off so strongly as well.
Both in Port Phillip and Western Port, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. So I have done 2 trips in the last week, which is quite amazing for me of late. So did a Tuesday afternoon with Michelle. We fished the flood tide top end of Western Port in the North Arm. It was blowing its absolute tits off. We were going to go down to Port Welshpool, but it just looked like it was going to be too windy. So I said, it's still fishing well in Western Port. We'll go out there. And we settled up the North Arm there, sitting with a strong wind blowing from onto the bow. But as you know, Joey, when you sit with the tide, the wind with the tide, it's quite comfortable. You can fish in some pretty windy conditions. And yeah, it actually started off a little bit slow. And then I made a bit of a move, and actually we don't always sound a lot in Western Port, but I was on that day. I wanted to make sure I was where the bulk of the fish were. So once I established there was fish in an area, I put the pick back down. But then the one problem we did have, Joey, was we had a seal come up, which is something you hear a lot about in Port Phillip, is seals harassing the snapper fishers. But Western Port, they're generally not too bad.
Yeah.
But we had this one come up, Joe, and the interesting thing was he had a stingray, not just the barb, the whole tail was sticking out of him. So he's obviously been in a bit of a brawl with a stingray, and it's just in the struggle, it's just ripped the stingray's tail off, which I would imagine is no mean feat. So it must have been quite the battle, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, once I put that footage up on socials, I had like 3 or 4 people message me going, I saw a seal and an eagle ray having a fight the other day. So it must be a thing, because there's a lot of stingrays around at the moment too.
Yeah, the water's really heated up in Western Port. There would be heaps of them.
Yeah, so I think I caught 8 or so eagle rays and black rays over that tide.
That's not fun.
And then, as is normally the case, when the snapper come on properly, you just don't get that same amount of rays because the snapper are getting to the baits.
Did you get any spoolings on?
We had I hooked what I thought
Can
was
be an expensive afternoon if you're going through 8 stingrays and you lose half a spool.
just a lot of hooks. But I did have, I thought I'd hooked another ray and it went screaming off and it jumped, and I just saw the back of it and it was very golden in colour, and then it actually bit us off quite a long way up the trace. So wow. I would suggest that was probably a bronze whale that actually breached, which does happen, and quite often this time of year up that way we have interactions with sharks. So
and we were talking the other day. You find that the people are targeting bronze whalers at the moment in Western Port.
Yeah, there's been a few caught, and it's definitely that time of year, and that could possibly be another reason, like the influx of rays or the amount of rays around. Bronzies love eating eagle rays and stuff like that. So,
right.
They come into pup, but obviously there's a food source there for them as well. But yeah, that session, I think me and Michelle got 10 or 11 fish, which was great. Like, it was one of those ones where once they started going, 2-3 rods were going sort of straight after each other. It was just mayhem everywhere.
That's what you want.
So it was one of those things where the best time to catch a fish is when they're in that mode. If we had more people on the boat, we could keep more baits going out. I think we probably would have got a few more. We obviously dropped a few as well, which, like, it doesn't seem to matter what hook combo you use, Joe. There's a percentage of fish that you don't hook up on properly.
For sure.
Because, the head shakes on a snapper, they're ferocious.
We say that with all fish. Oh, circles, jays, what's the best hook? Like, yeah, maybe we just look too much into it.
Yeah, we probably do overanalyze it a bit. I mean, they just have such ferocious head shakes, snapper, that it makes perfect sense that they are going to dislodge some hooks.
I mean, they're in full breeding mode now. The fish are aggressive. It's not early season. They're not timid. Like, they're just they're. I was watching the footage of you guys. They're just absolutely hitting it.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, this time of year, and I think I mentioned it on the video, which has just gone up on YouTube, by the way. So if you want to watch that, head to YouTube and have a look. The funny thing is that, I think 90% of the fish we caught, and especially the larger ones, were all males, and some of them with that bumpy nose, which is this time of year we do find that. We get probably more males than we do the females. Start of the season, it's probably the opposite.
Yep.
Which, don't know exactly why. Something to do with maybe the females have just dumped their roe or whatever it is they do when they're breeding, and maybe they're not really thinking about eating as much as the males are.
Yep.
So, quite a lot of males. Turned out to be a pretty good, like, we edited all the footage up. It wasn't too bad. I think it came together pretty well. I left my cameras here at work in the studio, Joe, so we just had one GoPro that Michelle brought. So considering, I feel like we cobbled something together. So
Yeah, I liked it. It was straight into the action.
Yeah. So if you want to have a look at that, go have a look. And then on Saturday, I had a trip with good mate Suraj and Chris.
King Kong, Donkey Kong, mate. Look.
Oh,
Oh,
Joe,
that was the Suraj buzzer.
he's taken to the King Kong Donkey Kong so much he got the back of his car sign written. So he's the whole back of Suraj's
really?
car. Yeah, it's got the King Kong logo and Win Against Tide logo on the back of his car.
I haven't seen that yet.
Which, mind you, is a Range Rover Sport, which is, I think they're like brand new. We'd have to look it up. I reckon they're like 180K brand new, something like that, Joe.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I feel maybe, depending on how you look at it, we've devalued his car slightly there. But
Good,
he said,
good on him. He deserves that car. He was driving up a beat-up Mitsubishi for as long as I've known the guy. It's got to be at least 10 years, so
Yep.
good on him for
Yep.
splashing out.
he's always spent money on everyone else except himself. So he's finally bought his dream car.
Yeah.
So if you see a Range Rover driving around with the King Kong logo on it, that's who that is. So give him a beep. He reckons he's had a few beeps already. But yeah, he came over last night, Joe, and he was Santa Suraj. He brought kids presents and everything. And he was telling me the other day he's spent about $10,000 on presents for everyone.
Wow.
So he's like, that is the kind of guy he is. So kind. So yeah, it's great to see him get his dream car. But anyway, yeah, we went snapper fishing down there at the wild old Port Welshpool, Joe.
Yeah, you've been hanging to get down there for weeks now.
It's been a couple of years since I've been down there. I used to fish it a lot, like quite a lot, about 10 years ago plus. Probably more than that now. Time's flying. A lot for sharks over summer. Used to love going mako fishing and stuff like that down there. And then move through to the snapper. So I haven't been down there for ages, and it is an awesome part of the world,
How are the sandflies?
mate. They messed me up so badly.
You got done.
Oh, and reacted really badly to it too. I had like massive welts coming up on my arms. It was horrible.
You didn't spray? Oh, come on, man.
No. Well, I used to live at Warneet, Joe, which is probably the bug capital of the world. But maybe it's only just beaten by the ferocity of Port Welshpool, I reckon.
Oh, that ramp is vicious on dawn or dusk.
Oh, so I sort of considered myself immune to them, but they absolutely towered me up, and yeah, these massive welts on my arms.
It's horrible. Like, I remember getting bitten actually in the North Arm once in Western Port, and you get bitten on the leg, and then you just got like a hot feeling in the middle of the night, and you just wake up from the deepest, darkest sleep just scratching like crazy. It's awful.
Yeah, no, they got me good. Busy down there at Welshpool at the moment. Always is.
Fishing's good though, right?
Yeah, a lot of boats around. Guys were starting to head offshore for the kingfish and that sort of thing. So there's that mixture. Snapper season there at Welshpool tends to run a bit later, so you still get plenty of fish through till after New Year's.
Yes.
There is a new pub in town there, Joe. I think it's called the Rusty Gurnard.
Oh,
So it's changed hands, and it's actually owned by Justin Lepich, who was a former. I think he played for Brisbane Lions and did some coaching as well.
okay.
So they've poured a fair bit of money in there, and it's all looking really nice. So we're going to go in there for a feed, and we got told they shut the kitchen 7 minutes before we got there. We were absolutely devastated. We end up having dirty Maccas on the way home at Lee and Gather.
Oh, Lane Gather. Okay.
So we weren't stoked about that, but no, the fishing was all right. It was actually the full moon that weekend, a real big full moon. So I suspect that probably didn't help the daytime snapper fishing.
Okay.
They probably did a lot of their feeding at night. Same with the squid. So we got there. We didn't do super early run. We left mine at 6. So we got down and launched about 9:30. First thing we did was we had about an hour left of tide. We went and anchored up and put a spread of snapper baits out to no avail, but just wanted to make the most of that little bit of running tide we still had left, because you quite often catch snapper at Welshpool when it's very slack, which is a little bit different to Western Port. Don't know why, but I think maybe because the tides are so ferocious there, the fish take more advantage of when it's not flowing.
Okay.
And that's why you'll get fish pretty well on the slack tide a little bit more. So yeah, we just had a quick snapper fish then for that little last bit of the trickle, and then we went and stocked up on squid. So one thing I love about Port Welshpool is there's so many options for catching squid. There's weed banks pretty much the whole way along. You can just have a look at your map, and if it looks like it should hold squid, it normally does.
Yep.
So we caught, I think we grabbed like 6 or 8 squid and then went back to snapper fishing, but they were a little bit finicky as well. I think also due to the moon. So we'd like hook one and have 2 or 3 or 4 following that one up. And normally that's like you rub your hands together, then you're going to get a whole bunch of them, but they just didn't want to commit and grab the jig. So it was, we got them reasonably quickly, but they weren't absolutely ferocious. So we stocked up on bait pretty quick, then charged back down the entrance. So good mate Sean Fertier from Think Big Charters actually has been down there a little bit. I had a chat to him. He suggested an area to try, which was down towards the entrance.
Oh, that's cool.
So we went down there and...
You're fishing in the deep water, like usually
Yeah.
25, 30 metres sort of thing?
Yeah, I think we were in like 23 metres.
Yeah.
So
Big 20-ounce sinkers?
big 20-ounce sinkers, which Suraj was very impressed with or unimpressed, I'm not sure.
What
was
did
like,
he say?
Just, mate, the sinkers are so big.
He's got no idea.
So it was the ebb tide, and it was a big tide. So
Yeah, that would have been screaming.
even with our big sinkers and that, I decided we'd fish the first part of the tide. We had one nice snapper scream off, which we caught, and then I was like, for the middle of the tide, I wanted to move in a bit shallower, get out of the weed and the tide, and then make sure I came back to that spot at the end.
Good plan.
So no good when we moved. Although we had a couple of beautiful bonus fish, Joey. One thing you get down there quite often is the big blue spot flatties.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we did catch them, and they're like proper worth filleting ones. They're, like 60 centimetres sort of thing. So
Like, they look like about a kilo.
yeah, no, they are. There's plenty of meat on them.
Yeah.
Normally with flatties, you're like, oh, is it even worth filleting them? But these ones, there's a feed, like one flathead is a feed. So they don't do much on your snapper gear with 20 ounces of lead hanging off them, but you certainly don't say no when they come up.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought the rays were bad in Western Port. Welshpool is another level.
They're bigger.
In fact, Suraj got a bit trigger happy winding in what we think was either a shark or a big ray and snapped one of my precious snapper rods that I've had forever and love. Turned that into a short stroker. So he broke the rod, and then he goes to me, you know what? I did feel I was lifting the rod a bit high, and then it broke. I was like, okay, next time you feel that, probably act on that and don't lift it so high.
No wonder you got such a nice Christmas present from him.
I wasn't too worried about it. It happens. Rods breaking happens, doesn't it, Joe?
Yeah, it does.
So yeah, a lot of rays and stuff to sort through. So we end up moving back to the original spot where we caught the snapper towards the end of the tide, and I think we got 3 more.
They're cool looking snapper at Welshpool. They look totally different.
Yeah, they go real hard in that super fast tide and with the weight and everything. So they like the first one we caught was probably 4.85 kilo, and I was thinking, oh, this could be a real good one. But they come out of that deep water. They really charge off with the tide, and then they come up like pretty bloated. And puffed up, so you think they're probably bigger than they are. But yeah, nothing huge. I wouldn't say it was an absolutely roaring success, but it was great to fish somewhere else. I think I probably could have got same or better results if I stayed local and went to Western Port, but I haven't had the chance to go anywhere for so long. I took that little window I had and went down there, and it's good. Like, to change it up is as good as a holiday, you know what I mean? Like, fishing Western Port so frequently because I'm lucky enough to live so close to it. It's just almost too convenient sometimes, and you get a bit locked in. So to go down there to Welshpool after a couple of years, that was great, Joe. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's bloody beautiful.
I probably missed the peak of because they've had a really good season as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I might have missed out a little bit, but I'm glad I got there. I got down there this season, so I'm happy. I'm keen to go back down there in the next few weeks and maybe we target some kingfish or something like that.
That was exactly my next question for you. What are your plans for Christmas and New Year? We've got You got a beautiful boat. You got Extreme sitting there, and you got a lot of options. I mean, the local tuna have started. The Kings usually go quite good down at Welsh Pool over the Christmas New Year break. What are you thinking?
Yeah, that's high on the list is Kings down there and a little bit at home. Obviously, yeah, we've got the tuna. They're coming through now. The ones I've seen so far have been quite small though, so hopefully they get some more of those chunkier style ones start to come through.
Where have you heard the tuna?
I think down Torquay sort of way, and then also some out our eastern entrance towards the prom.
So the far west and the far east?
Pretty much. So if you look anywhere hard enough, I feel like you'd probably find some. That's generally how it is.
Well, that's what we do. I especially remember this time of year quite often. We know they're about to start, and it's the old put in at Stony Point, and it's flip a coin, west or east, and we're doing about 120 kilometres.
Yeah, they especially early. You'll either see them just shimmering on the top, or often like real early, like now, you won't see them at all. So you got to pretty much sound them up to get the bite.
Absolutely.
But you'll also find early on, like as it is now, you'll often find them in quite shallow, so like 10 metres, 10, 15 metres. 17
metres, I think I saw on Facebook the other day.
Yeah. So So my advice would just be hug the coast in tight, keep your eyes wide open, and trust your electronics.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit
on
of that.
deep divers too, I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
well, that's what's going to penetrate the water column if they're sort of
couple of Halco divers and maybe a spreader bar, and yeah, you're pretty well set. If you do find them on the surface lure's still a good option as well. But they'll trickle through now, Joe, and they'll get a little bit easier to catch as we move through summer. You'll find, and should be good fishing for everyone. So, those options. Welsh Pool Kings definitely high on the list, with a bit of camping thrown in there in maybe Refuge Cove or something like that.
That'd be beautiful. We just need the weather to hold up.
We do. My main goals aren't really fishing goals over the break and through summer. It's actually more filming goals. I just want to film stuff really well. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, it's incredibly rewarding when and you and I do get out and we can drone and film everything and cover it properly.
Yeah, definitely. So the other region that I'd really like to explore a bit over the break, Joe, is Lakes Entrance, Bairnsdale direction.
Yep.
I want to go down there and catch the bull shark in the Mitchell River. No. Have you heard about that?
I have.
Yeah.
Is that fair income?
That's fair income. That's been the big news this week, is there's quite a large bull shark being sighted multiple times in the Mitchell River, way upstream there at Bairnsdale.
Aren't you going to Bairnsdale for Christmas?
Yeah, I'll be down there this weekend.
See if you can spot it.
I would love to. I had a good chat to our mate Simon Webster, who lives down there, and I said, Simon, is this bullshit or not? He goes, no, it's not. He goes, multiple people saw it, people that are very trustworthy, and then they've had all the police, water police, parks, everyone's been down there trying to spot it. So my wife, Maddie, she works for a government department, not parks, DELP. I don't know what they actually call it now. It changes name all the time. She reckons that they had a drone photo of it, which I haven't seen yet, but that'd be cool. So
nice.
Yeah, unusual. I mean, most of the estuary systems up north, heaps of bull sharks in it. We know they do push into fresh water and brackish water, no worries at all. But it's just been a shock to have it this far south. But mind you, there's been a few bull sharks caught off the 90 mile by the guys shark fishing, so they're definitely around, Joe.
Oh, that's also a really cool style of fishing.
Yeah, it is.
I've got a little bit of a fishing goal for the summertime.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be great if it happened during New Year's and Christmas, but I'm just going to peg it for the summertime. I've got a bit of a dream to go and dive for some scallops.
Ah,
yeah. So
called scallops.
Look, I'm not the best diver. I'm not afraid to admit it. I mean, I went diving for the first time with good mate Shane Lowry
Oh, that was a long time ago.
No, that was 10 years ago. Oh, no, 12 years ago, I think it popped up on Facebook. And
I remember driving to your parents' house to collect a crayfish off you.
yeah, I mean, we went to a beautiful, secluded ocean beach down the west coast, and there was a bit of ocean rolling through there. I bought a wetsuit, bought a snorkel, and all of that. And I accompanied Shane. I was holding the bag, and even on a calm, slightly rolling ocean, I still managed to throw up in the ocean. I managed to throw up in the ocean. And anyways, I held the bag for Shane. We caught a couple of crays and Yahoo. It was a good experience. But ever since that day, I've been wanting to get back into the water. And I just thought I'd just reevaluate the whole situation. It's like, okay, let's go diving first of all, not in the ocean so I won't throw up. And then let's go somewhere where I don't have to dive too deep. I did have a problem equalising. I felt like my head was about to crush like a beer can.
You know,
at
you know
one
how
point.
you do it, Joe. You hold your nose and you blow.
Mate, I did it. I couldn't do it. So somewhere where you don't have to dive deep, somewhere that's not exposed to the ocean, and then still get a reward of some tasty seafood at the bottom. And I've come to the conclusion that the scallop in Port Phillip Bay is the thing for me. And also the thing with the scallop, it's got no weapons, so it won't fight back. They've got no weapons, the
So
scallop.
you just want to make sure it's not a fair fight.
Yeah. I just want to make it as easy as possible and to go out in a nice, calm, warm summer breeze with no swell and not too far to dive and just no weapons when I just go to grab that scallop and put it in the bag. And yeah, and then we just go back to the shore and get the char grill Weber going and get a nice bottle of white wine and just have a ball cooking up some scallops.
You've thought it all through, Joe.
Yeah, so that's my dream.
They definitely are the easiest to capture of all of them. Like even the abalone, you got to pry them off their little rock. They hang on for grim life, but those scallops, they're really there for the grabbing.
Yeah.
But no, that does sound good, Joey. The other seafood that would be cool to get is prawning. Have you done much prawning?
I did in Marimbula when I was a little kid. That was so much fun. Is that more a March, April sort of thing to do, or does it start
Apparently,
happening
there's a lot of them around already, but generally, they're at their best sort of Feb, March sort of thing into April.
Yeah, that's good fun. Hey, how good's Christmas seafood?
Oh, so good, especially when you grab it yourself. But the prawning is some of the most fun I've had, where you just... So when I've done it, you take the boat and you get the spotlights shining on the water and they go past you on the tide and you just dip net them.
Yeah.
But you can also, if you don't have a boat, you go land-based and you wade around and you try and trick them into scooting backwards into your net, which is probably even more fun.
Oh, you just triggered my mind. Wasn't Suraj wanting to go during the summertime at night?
Floundering.
So yeah, in the shallows of Port Phillip with the light. And what's he got? There's a Hawaiian sling.
Yeah. Oh, you just use like the pronged spear.
The three, mate.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm up for that, mate. That thing, I'll freaking
You'd spear your foot.
I'd spear my foot. Just freaking 3 prongs into the freaking, plunge it into my foot. That'd be awful.
You don't have a lot of confidence in yourself, do you?
No, I know.
That's a real worry. I'd be keen to do that as well. We've definitely formed the plan of collecting seafood more so than any sport fishing action going on. But you know what? It is that time of year. Like it is more about having a laugh and eating good food with your mates rather than going out and tackling trophy fish. Because let's be honest, everyone's on holiday, so every waterway is busy. That does make it a bit more difficult.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, looking forward to that. Lakes. I want to do the big flathead. That's definitely high on the list.
Yep.
The Kings down that way as well, and even a little bit of estuary perch and brim sort of thing. I'd love to film that as well for something different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've probably been a bit on the game fishing side of things with wind against tide, so I would like to do a little bit more exploring of other species over the break, Joe, but very excited. Just got some new filming gear, bought myself a present, so
yeah.
Hopefully we can take the production up another notch. Although I just feel when it's me and you and we concentrate, we can put out some beautiful content.
That's it. 2 people and a couple of guest anglers. We can do our best work.
Correct. Now, Joe, as we approach the end of the year, we
Yep.
can look back on another year of podcasting. We're 2 or 3 years into it now. I think nearly 3.
Yep.
And reminisce, because it's been another wild ride. Hell of a year.
Yeah, we've had to change the studios a couple of times.
We've done 2 studio shifts. We're in this beautiful one here now at Mully's, and it's making life a lot easier. We're actually just doing a sneaky recording sesh right in the middle of the day here, which is fantastic. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you, Joe, who was your favourite guest that came on the pod this year? And was that your favourite podcast, or was there a different favourite podcast?
Gee, I mean, we had a few. We had Starlo, we had McGlashan, we had Richie Abella, we had Paul Worstling.
Peter Pakula, was that this year?
That was the year before.
Nah. We had some big names.
Yeah, it's been like it was not so long ago. We had Paul Worstling here. That was my favourite. It was a good chat. It was good to just get another perspective on the whole fishing and filming thing. I enjoyed that the most because it's he'd sort of been there and done what we've been sort of doing for over 10 years now.
That was a great pick because it was Paul in a different format to what you normally see him. It wasn't that polished, edited style that you see on TV. And he was very raw and funny and honest with us. And I think that's a really good pick, Joe, that one. That was your favourite podcast as well as guest? Or was there another one that tickled your fancy? Because sometimes the ones that don't have the big names are some of our favourites. Even just me and you sitting here, we'll go off on some random tangent and it's a good time.
Oh, it's close second when we had Suraj in.
Oh yes. Was it?
It was
Suraj?
about Suraj with the his commentary on the Olympic Games back in July.
Yeah. We love Suraj on the podcast is the best. The problem is that he starts off quite strong and then gets harder and harder to understand as the podcast goes on. He starts to mumble more and starts to drink more, and it becomes just quite inaudible slur. But he brings an energy into the studio, and it's always hilarious to get him on.
He has an aura about him.
He definitely does.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What was your favourite Wind Against Tide fishing video for the year?
Fishing video. I haven't given you my favourite podcast yet.
That's all right. We can look back on that.
It would be the whiting that you and I did with Fabian, your boss.
Yes.
Which is absolutely going nuts on YouTube. I think it's had like 21,000 views or something now.
It's Wind Against Tide's greatest hit. And he wants to go back again. It's about to start up again.
Yep. No, I like that because we put a lot into the filming of it and it told a really good story. It was informative for people, but also there was some good laughs in there, like when you got slapped in the face by the whiting tail.
Yes.
Which is still one of the funniest things I've seen on a boat.
We caught an elephant fish as well.
Yeah, we caught the elephant. Plenty of good banter and, very relatable for people. What else did we do this year? I've did a lot of editing of other people's footage this year. We had your big swordfish you caught.
Yeah, that was...
Jonah's big swordfish he caught. The Marlin trip I did through work with Reno. You came down for a day. That was...
Oh, the Marlin, that was fantastic.
That was probably my favourite fishing trip for the year. Probably didn't film it the best because 2 guys on a boat, six or seven marlin for the day.
And it's rough.
A bit going on. But yeah, that's on YouTube as well to have a look at. So no, there's been some good stuff, Joe. What about yourself?
Yeah, I enjoyed all of that, but I'm going to take... I enjoyed when Jonah and Michelle joined us. We had Jonah down from Tasmania.
I loved it when he got the hook through his hand.
Oh, shit. You loved it when that just plunged into the meaty part of his palm.
Probably one of the best I told you so moments of my whole life. When that swinging second hook just plunged into his hand.
It was a great trip when Jonah come down. We actually had a good week, all of us together, and it was just a fun trip.
Yeah, especially because we weren't really expecting much because it was early September, I think it was. and normally there's not a lot of options there.
Well, we
So-
were expecting because the fishing had been good, and we're going, hey, Joan, I think we're going to go snapper fishing.
Yeah, well, that was the best option, but we got given like a 4-hour window. So the first day I went with Jonah, we got given like a 4-hour window, and I think we got 4 or 5 snapper, and I was like, geez, that's worked out quite well. Because we had to get back in and go do some wining and dining. So we didn't prioritise the fishing. And then the next day, we took them for a bit of a cruise to have a look at some different parts of Western Port, and then up on the snapper, and started off well, ended in tragedy,
Yeah.
but all fun and games. Yeah, that was a good trip.
Yeah, that was fun.
My favourite podcast, Joe,
Yep.
I've got a couple written there, but I reckon my favourite, now I'm wondering if that was even this year. Was the Mark Sullivan Whale podcast this year?
Oh,
That was last year, wasn't it?
yeah.
All right, cancel that. That was a good one, though. If you haven't listened to that one, really interesting. Our mate Sully had a horrible accident at sea where a whale hit his boat, or he hit the whale.
He
And,
survived and he's recovered and
Yes.
he got a new boat. Like, he's all good now, but at the time,
Yeah,
absolute disaster.
listen to that one. There's some really good info in there and some safety stuff. All right, so I got to go. I reckon maybe the Starlo one.
Yeah,
Just
Steve
because-
Starling.
Guy's so full of information, and it's someone that you and I obviously both grew up watching, so it was a bit surreal to have Starlo taking the time to chat to us on the pod,
Yeah.
and he enjoyed it. It was funny because we kind of shut him off. We ended it, and then we went to one of our other segments, and we realised Starlo was still there on the live feed watching and commenting. So he didn't just do the interview and then go, all right, that's done, and take off. He watched the rest of the podcast and he enjoyed it. So it was very interesting. And just a guy with a lifetime of cool stories and interesting stuff to talk about.
And I think also just reflecting on the year, Dave. Huge congratulations for you for entering into the marine industry, and for all the work you're doing at Marley's, and the team at Marley's Marine have just been absolutely incredible to get behind our cause as well, and support us in what we do as well. So that's been absolutely huge, and can't thank you guys enough.
Yeah, that's a good point, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably made it possible to keep going. Look, I know we've backed off a little bit on what we were doing. We were doing it weekly, and this certainly isn't a sob story at all. But obviously, Wind Against Tide doesn't make any money. Whatever we do earn through merch and stuff just goes back into camera gear or the show.
Yep.
So
Trips, the boat.
So we were every week. At the moment, we're probably doing it every second week. But having the support from Mully's Marine and also Shimano have been massive. They've been so good with supporting us. So thank you to Shimano. Having the support of those two companies and anyone else throughout the year. We've had a few other people that have tipped in.
And our guests that have donated their time.
100%. Nobody gets paid, obviously, and they're all just... It's very rare for someone to get asked to come on the pod and they say no. They generally go out of their way and they come in. And I think most people really enjoy coming in for a chat as well, Joe. So having all the help that we've had and the support throughout the year and the great feedback has made us keep going with the show. And I guess, as we move into next year, we just want to keep that momentum going, keep putting out as much content as we can. The other thing that's happened this year is I've had another little boy.
Yes.
Well, my wife did, but I feel like I did most of the work. Who came into the world right as Joseph landed a big swordfish. So there you go. Obviously having young kids, it makes it hard. So we do the best we can. On a day that we do a podcast, we're normally here so I'd go about my work day and then I hang back. We record the podcast. When we do it live, we're normally here till about 11 p.m. by the time we get back in the car and head home. So they're big days, but we love doing it. The fishing space and the boating space in Australia, like we live and breathe it. We love it, and we can't wait to explore it. If you guys have any suggestions for guests for us to have on next year, or even if you want to come on yourself, you've got a funny story you want to tell, reach out on our socials, or get in touch with me or Joey, because we're always looking for fresh perspectives and interesting stuff to talk about. So yeah, when we move into next year, we're just going to hopefully be ramping it up a bit more again, Joey.
And the other thing as well, Dave, is you mentioned that, we're coming into sort of prime fishing season. Really, it's sort of November to June now. So the next 6 months, definitely we'll be back into more of a rhythm, and we plan to have heaps more content out for you guys. We'll be going fishing a lot more now.
Well, one of the reasons we backed off a little bit on the podcasting was so we could fish and record more, because at the end of the day, like that's what we've done for a very long time. Obviously, Joe and I came from UFish TV through to doing Wind Against Tide, and recording our fishing trips and recording it well is always going to be a big priority, and we know people love watching it. So we wanted to make sure we still had time set aside to do both, which is why we made a new channel this year, Joe.
Yes, we did.
We made the Wind Against Tide podcast YouTube channel.
Yep.
So we've separated the two. So make sure you go and like and subscribe to the podcast channel so you don't miss out on new podcasts.
Well, you get the running commentary of what this is, sort of a raw behind the scenes of what we're up to, and then you'll see our videos. They've been polished and published.
Absolutely. Xmas.
Yes.
Xmas. I wrote Xmas and I read it Xmas. I wrote down Xmas on my notes. I read it as Xmas. Christmas. It's next week.
Yes.
Fishing gift ideas, Joe.
For a whiting washing machine.
I knew you were going to say that.
We're not sponsored by, but I'm pretty sure Wilson make it. Pretty sure you can get it at Anaconda, about $55.
Sounds like you are sponsored. Got a little side deal going.
No, I'm going to buy one for myself. I actually don't own one. I was like, Fab, where'd you get that from?
Yeah, that is a good product.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I've got a good one. Our mate Zoran at Ocean Accessories, he makes one of the best, if you're not using your washing machine, a scaler, which I've been using on the Snapper lately.
Yep.
It's virtually like a small rake, and you just absolutely hoe into the fish, and it rips those scales off really quick. So
mad.
Locally made. He does really good fish spikes as well. We're big on looking after our fish to eat them, and I make sure that I brain spike all the fish straight away, so that obviously you're getting the best eating quality possible. It's kinder to the fish.
Yep.
So they're local made niche products, which are very handy for any fishing person, Joe.
Yeah, I've got to get one of those fish spikes. That's good.
What about rods and reels? What's the rod and reel are you predicting to be the flavour of this year? I'll go to give you a bit more thinking time. The electric stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot more people are getting into the deep dropping for tasty fillets. I know Shimano has just released new electric reels over the last year, so I reckon a lot of people will be getting more into that. Then they're not cheap, but they make life a lot easier than hand winding up 500 metres, 400 metres. So
yeah, 100%.
That's my tip. You thought of one?
I'm not too sure.
Well, we need to think about what species are going to be prevalent. Maybe prawn dipping nets, scallop grabbing gloves.
I mean, we use them all the time, but I absolutely love the Shimano Saragossa in 2,500 all the way up to 10,000. It's just a fantastic reel, smooth, sounds good. I like it. I'm big on it.
They're a workhorse. They really are a workhorse.
Yeah.
From anything from small stuff right through to you.
I mean, I'm thinking of even getting a Saragossa just 2,000, 2,500, even just for whiting, because I like the 10,000 and the 8,000 so much.
Yeah, no, good call. Looking forward to that. So if anyone's doing some last minute Christmas shopping for their significant other or family member, there's a couple of ideas there to help you out.
That's a good one, Dave.
Yeah.
There's actually some good fishing sunglasses. No good having fishing sunglasses if you look like I don't need to replace some fishing sunglasses. I don't want old man fishing sunglasses. I want them to be kind of a bit cool, but still give some kind of polarizing, water see-through penetration.
Yeah, there's a few good brands these days that make stuff that's actually a bit stylish. I don't mind the really like, the old school looking aviator ones, and they've got like the leather like blinker things on the side.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Quite hipstery.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like a World War II pilot.
Yeah. It is. So yeah, no, we don't have any sunglass sponsor brand. Although Tonic helped us out when we did our fishing comp, Joe. So maybe have a look at the Tonic range. They
Oh,
were
okay.
really
I
good
will.
there. A lot of people, Joe, have been sort of asking for updates on our good mate Dave Jurisic from Bass Strait
Oh yeah, great.
Lures. So I thought we definitely do want to touch on that
Yeah.
before we finish out the year. So Dave's probably listening because he's really doing quite well at the moment, considering where he was. So big shout out to Dave Jurisic.
Snoopy.
Can't wait to have you back up and running, mate. And we're going to do some serious fishing when you get back on your feet. So yeah, I went in and visited Dave over there at Geelong Hospital last week, and was really happy to see that he was really sharp mentally and verbally. We had great conversations. He hasn't got all his physical ability back. He's got a bit of movement in his arms and the top half of his body. He's still working on getting a bit of movement throughout his legs. Given he's been in, like, he was in a coma for a long time and he hasn't been able to move for so long, obviously your muscle and stuff degenerates. So he's got to do a lot of rehab to work back up to getting somewhere near where he was at. But Dave was in the ICU when I visited him just a couple of weeks ago. And then I think a couple of days after that, Joe, he was moved to general ward, which was a big milestone. So he got moved from obviously ICU is when you're still in quite imminent danger and it's a bit touch and go. So he's got moved out of there. He's gone to general ward. And from there, he just starts the process of recovering. He was very sad. He missed out on snapper season. But I said, don't worry, there's plenty more snapper seasons to come. We'll get out there next year.
Oh, the tuna are going to be on soon. We can use his wonderful lures, Bass Strait lures.
Looking forward to that. So yeah, he just will continue to work through. Obviously, we had the fundraiser for him a little while back. That was awesome. So he wanted to say a big thanks to everyone that contributed to that. He was stoked. That's obviously going towards the hefty medical expenses that he'll have and ongoing expenses. But no, he was really thankful for all the support and looking forward to getting back on track. And he still loves the podcast. He had Wind Against Tide on his little board in his room to let everyone know that was one of his favourite things, which was funny to see.
He loves the fishing community and the fishing community love him back.
So yeah, great progress. And I think that's a really positive story. So good on you, Dave, and keep on fighting, and we'll get back down there for another visit shortly.
It's
and hopefully the podcast is helping you pass some time there in hospital.
Yeah, really awesome news. I'm so glad he's getting better.
That's right. Now, to round out the year, Joe, is there any other items you want us to touch on? Anyone you wanted to say, give a shout out to? Anything you wanted to cover before we say good evening, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year?
No, just if everybody is out on the water enjoying over the Christmas break, be safe on the water. Look at the weather. Be careful. Nobody wants to lose a loved one over the Christmas break. Be careful on the roads. Take your time, and just be safe and look after each other.
And love one another.
Yeah.
Peace and happiness.
Yep.
No, good point. There's always one or two tragedies every year, and we don't want to tap to anyone, but definitely not to any of our Wind Against Tiders. So be careful out there. Good luck with the fishing.
Yeah.
Send in your photos. Let us know how you go. And thank you for being on board for the ride for 2024. We will see you in 2025. Some big things going to be going down then, Joey. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Some stuff in the works and exciting times ahead.
That's it.
So,
Yeah, I thought that was necessary.
yeah.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Merry Christmas, Joe.
Merry Christmas, fishing friends. We'll see you in 2025.
ho. Merry Christmas.